Let's start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Panchadasi, third chapter. Panchakosha Viveka Prakaranam. We have finished 37 verses out of 43 verses. This is a beautiful text written by Swami Vidyaranya, and it describes how, as a seeker, I should claim my higher nature. Right from Tattvabodha, Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads study, we have been told that we have two natures. One nature is the lower nature, which is called as apara prakriti, chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. And the higher nature called as para prakriti. In texts like Bhagavad Gita, we only get that information about our nature. We are not able to realize completely whatever the Bhagavad Gita or Upanishads also want to convey us. Many people, they study Gita and Upanishads and then they stop with their spiritual study, maybe even Brahma Sutra. And then they, maybe for 25 years, they have studied all the three texts prescribed as Prasthana Trayam. And they have felt that at the end of the study, there is something which, okay, fine, we have understood that there is some higher nature, but due to some reasons, some obstacles, pratibandhas, I am not able to realize that higher nature. This is where Swami Vidyaranya comes and helps seekers like us. He has written Panchadasi consisting of 15 chapters. And he has written another beautiful text, a reflection of all the Upanishads, which is called as which is called as Anubhuti Prakasha. Now that is the text. See, I'm taking Vidyaranya's Panchadasi now in these Wednesday sessions. After 2 or 3 sessions on Saturdays, I am going to do Anubhuti Prakasha of the same Swamiji, Acharya, Vidyaranya Swamiji, on Mundakopanishad. Right now I am teaching Mundakopanishad in Saturday class. That is my regular summary class, which most of you have also attended before. But after 2-3 sessions, if you're interested, you can write to me. I will probably send you the invitation when we start the Anubhuti Prakasha. 100 verses are written on this Mundakopanishad. Same author. The reason I am mentioning is that Swami Vidyaranya is a brilliant teacher, Acharya of Vedanta. And the way he can teach, I have not seen any other teacher who like him. Of course, there are many other texts which are advanced texts like Naishkarmya Siddhi by Sureshwara Acharya, Shruti Sara Samudharanam, Vishara Sagara by Nishala Dasa. So there are many texts like this which are all talking of how to realize this higher self. But in my opinion, Swami Vidyaranya Swami is outstanding. I mean, he's got a certain methodology, and he is able to convert our jivatvam, jiva bhava, into Brahma bhava. He seems to have some technique of doing it. And in every of these chapters, we find his skill in that. In this Panchakosha Viveka Prakaranam, we have seen 37 verses. And they all deal with Taittiriya Upanishad. See the brilliant way Swami Vidyaranya has dealt with Taittiriya Upanishad summary in this third chapter. The way he dealt with bringing out all the 5 koshas and then telling us these 5 koshas are not you. And then he tells us that your higher nature is satyam, jnanam, anantam. And then he explained each one of this satyam, jnanam, anantam, how to realize. And towards the end now, he is now dwelling on an extremely important topic from 37th verse to 43rd verse, which is the end of this chapter. Now, this section is basically deals with Maya Shakti. And it is extremely difficult, extremely subtle in nature, because it is this Shakti, this power in this universe which covers our real nature. Therefore, the study is very, very subtle. It is extremely fine in nature, and one must give total mind to these verses if you have to really pick up the nuances of these verses, the essence of these verses. Very difficult to absorb for a mind which is full of vikshepa. Suppose my mind is full of vikshepa shakti, then this is difficult to absorb. But suppose you have a sattvic mind, you will be able to absorb every word of this Maya Shakti, described in verses 37 to 43, but extremely difficult for a seeker to have a sattvic mind. So if you don't understand 100% of these verses, doesn't matter. Just listen and try to absorb as much as you can, and then leave it for the rest. There are many other chapters we will see where these topics will be repeated again and again. In every chapter, Swami Vidyaranya will bring this topic of Maya Shakti. He has a skill to develop on this and then reveal the higher nature. In every chapter of Panchadasi, you will find there is a skill involved, a technique involved, and the purpose of all this is to reveal that I am of the nature of pure consciousness. Never forget this when you're studying Panchadasi. Always remember, all these verses are leading to only one thing, which is for my intellect to interpret my experiences of the world as Maya, and to interpret my real nature as Brahman or pure consciousness. So is the project clear? You should be very clear on the project, because then only you will understand this Maya Shakti well. This Maya Shakti is something which is a power which can delude us completely. It will make us think exactly opposite of what we are. For example, Upanishad tells me I am a karta, a bhokta. Now, 99.9% of the people will say, I am a karta, I am a bhokta. See how Maya Shakti plays. Upanishad tells me I am of the nature of Chaitanya. All of us feel that I am the body, I am the mind. See how Maya Shakti is playing its power? See, these are all simple techniques to understand that there is some power which is hiding my real nature. And the way, one of the very important points, which again and again Swami Vidyaranya will repeat also, is, and even in these verses from 37 onwards to 43, we will see that this pure consciousness is always pure. Whereas the world which I see and experience, including my body and mind, is like a reflection. Very important point. Huh? Let your mind dwell on this point again and again. Unless you reflect on this yourself, you will not be able to understand Maya Shakti. This is the technique and this is the key to open up Maya Shakti. Because if you know that this experiences I have is like a reflection, you see, like I see a reflection in the mirror. I have the original face, I see the reflection in the mirror. If I take the reflection as myself, what will be the grave mistake which I will be making? You know. This is exactly what is happening to us. Whatever is our experience of the body, mind, and the world is like a reflection. Let it sink. If it is not sinking, just listen to it. We'll have ample opportunities to dwell on this topic. But this is an important point to remember, because if you know and if you are able to hold on to this idea, then Maya Shakti becomes very easy to understand. Okay, what have we seen? I said from 37th verse to 43rd verse is our discussion on Maya. 37 we have finished. What did we learn in 37th verse? What we learned was that this Brahman is the reality behind this universe, which is existence, which is consciousness, which is infinite in nature. And this pure Brahman or pure consciousness is appearing as what? As Jiva and Ishvara. This is what we have seen in 37th verse. I'm just recollecting so that you are able to connect the other, what we are going to discuss in the 38th verse. So this pure consciousness is appearing. It is just seemingly there. Seemingly, it appears as this world of Ishvara, Jiva, Jagat. What is the definition of Jiva? Jiva is the individual body and mind with the consciousness reflected on it. What is Ishvara? Ishvara is the entire universe, the power behind the entire universe with Maya Shakti. Jiva has got Avidya Shakti. Ishvara has got Maya Shakti. Don't forget, without these two Shaktis, there is no world. Always this is whenever we experience the world, the first thing which should strike you is there is one universal power. You cannot deny it. There is a power. How does this power express? The easiest way to understand this power is ask the question, who is responsible for my three states of consciousness? Waking, dream, sleep. All of us are experiencing the three states of consciousness. And the realms of the world in the three states of consciousness is very, very different. Waking world, dream world, and sleep world. Who is behind this? In Keno Upanishad, the question asked by the disciple is, who is behind this power of the mind? Power of seeing, power of breathing. Who is behind it? In Mundaka Upanishad, the question is, can you tell me one principle? If I understand, I can understand the whole universe. Tell me one principle. What is that? It is the power of Maya Shakti together with Brahman. In all the Upanishads, you will always find that there is a karanam and there is a karyam. The karanam is Brahman with Maya Shakti, and karyam is the whole world. Whether you take the karyam as the three states, you take the karyam as the three sharirams, or you take the karyam as the panchakoshas, it is always a product. And there is a power behind it, that is this Maya Shakti. This was explained in 37th verse. In all these verses, I have some revision class also, revision slides also. The reason is I want to repeat some of these technical points, because even though I have mentioned it once, I will repeat it again because they are subtle in nature, and the more we repeat it, the more it will sink into your mind. So with this introduction, let me now go straight to the 38th verse, which we have to see today.
Shaktirastyaishwari kachit, Shaktirastyaishwari kachit, Sarvavastu niyamika, Sarvavastu niyamika, Anandamayamaarambhya, Anandamayamaarambhya, Godha sarveshu vastushu, Godha sarveshu vastushu.
In this verse, Swami Vidyaranya says that there is a controller behind this universe. That controller is called as Ishvara. That Ishvara has got a power which is called as Maya, Maya Shakti. So there is, whenever we experience the universe, always remember there is a power which is controlling this universe. You cannot deny it. Absolutely, like even if you have a little intellect, you remember. What keeps my heart my heart pumping blood? What is the power which keeps my breath in this body? All these things will make us think there is some supreme power. Now, this supreme power is there in the 5 sheaths. That is what this verse is saying. And it controls niyamakaha, sarva vastu niyamakaha. That is the name given to Maya Shakti, inner controller of all the objects and beings in creation. right from physical body onwards to the entire cosmos. There is a power which is got both the Shaktis, material cause as well as the sentient cause. Intelligent cause and the material cause together is this Maya Shakti. So Maya Shakti is a property of Ishvara which controls everything and becomes Sarva Antaryami. This is a very important word, Antaryami. Sarva Antaryami. That is why it is called as the self of the universe. See, this body-mind complex has a self, which is called as the consciousness. The whole universe has a self, which is called as existence. We have studied that in this chapter, existence. So when you say the universe, everything is there. This is existent, universe is existent, everything is existent, 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 existent. The sleep state is existent, the dream state is existent, waking state is existent, everything in waking state is existent. And that existence principle is this Shakti. It reveals the 5 sheaths and the world. So one part of Maya Shakti or the Antaryami is the thing which belongs to Brahman, pure consciousness, which has got Satyam, which has got existence, consciousness, infinitude. That gets reflected in the world. And when it gets reflected in the world, we are able to experience it illumines the entire panchakoshas and the entire universe. Shakti asti aishwarya kaschit sarva vastuni niyamakaha. This power is a bhava rupa. It is bhava rupa means it exists. Abhava rupa means it doesn't exist. Asti, it is there, and it is paramarthika. Paramarthika means my sense organs cannot perceive it. It is not vyavaharikam. In vyavaharikam, my sense organs can perceive things. Non-perception is not a proof of existence, non-existence. Suppose I'm not able to see something. It is not a proof that it doesn't exist. I can't see the Himalayas in front, but then I know it exists because of other sources of knowledge. Similarly, some kind of power is there in this Vyavaharika world, which is called as Vyavaharika Satta. And that is what makes this world, body, mind as real. The reality is not belonging to the world. It is Maya Shakti which gets reflected in the world. It appears real, but ultimately it does not exist with reference to the reality. This is where Maya is to be understood. Maya, this is very beautifully analyzed in Nishala Dasa's Vichara Sagara, very beautifully analyzed in chapter 3, I think, 3 or 4. And it is anirvachaniya. See, what is the meaning of anirvachaniya? It cannot be expressed as sat or asat. You cannot say it is existent, you cannot say it is non-existent, but it is beyond both existence and non-existence. This is the way Vivek Chudamani also describes Maya. Sannapi upayotme kano. That verse. For those who have done Vivek Chudamani, you can remember this verse. Maya pratiyate. Pratiyate means what? It is appearing. Exactly like what? The dream world is appearing. But is it real? No. The moment I get up, it vanishes. Similarly, this waking world is real as long as I'm inside this world. Maya is a part of this world, but Brahman is outside the world. That is Paramarthika Satyam. The world can be sublated. So what appears can be sublated. The waking world is not there in the dream world. The dream world is not there in the waking world. And both the dream and the waking world is not in deep sleep. That is how Vedanta says that this world we experience is called as Maya or Mithya. It has appearance, but it can be negated by knowledge of the higher. By knowing the Brahma Tattvam clearly, 100% clarity must be there in your own intellect. Because it is our intellect which interprets everything which we experience. Whatever we experience, the eyes, ears, the five sense organs, jnana indriyas, it experiences. But what controls samsara? Right interpretation, if you have of these experiences, then you have no samsara. Wrong interpretation, that is why the entire Vedantic knowledge is towards this intellect. Changing the nature of the intellect from ignorance to knowledge. So, that which cannot be explained as sat or asat is called as anirvachaniya, indescribable. It is a power, it is indescribable, it is appearing, it disappears. It appears, it disappears. Exactly like the waking and the dream state appears and disappears, the waking state is just appearing and disappearing. Appearing and disappearing. But there is something which is called as sat. That sat is never negated because that happens to be you. Trikala abhadyam. Trikala abhadyam means what? In 3 periods, it cannot be negated because you are always existing, correct? All of us say, I exist. I existed when I was 3 years old, 5 years old, 10 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old. Today I exist. Yesterday I existed. Tomorrow I will exist. Now, that common factor is what is called as existence. That is what is called as sat. And always trying to discriminate the sat from the anatma, asat, is very difficult till we have the education of Vedanta. Only the study of Vedanta will make us free from identification with the body and mind as the self. This is the biggest job of spiritual study. And the moment you are able to get it, you are free. Completely free, and you will experience something which will be absolutely joyous and completely fulfilled, totally fulfilled in life. Whatever I have to learn in this universe, the goal of my life has been achieved, which is what is called as moksha. So Maya Shakti, otherwise called as ajnanam or ignorance, it is not sat. Because it is not sat, it can be negated. How? By the knowledge of Brahman, the higher knowledge, which is called as satyam. That satyam cannot be negated, but asat can be negated. Ajnanam can be negated. Now, asat means there is two types of asat. One is called as relatively asat. And there is another thing called as absolutely asat. That means, like, you cannot see flowers in the sky. That is non-existent. But everything else in the universe, normally, we say is asat also. That is, relatively it appears, but ultimately it doesn't have existence of its own. That is what cannot be captured by words. You see, whatever you may explain, Maya, but still the intellect is, that is why it's called as anirvachaniya. It cannot be captured by the mind. Neither by words you can explain it. Maya is not a figment of imagination. Shasha Vishaka. Words without content. The world, I can describe the world, but it is not without a content. It is not my own imagination. Asat is not an imagination, but it is an appearance which is there. It has got utility, novelty, but does not have its own existence. This is the most important point between Mithya and Satya. Again and again, our mind has to reflect on this. World doesn't have its own reality. It borrows reality from Brahman, pure existence, consciousness. The difference is exactly what I experience in sleep is pure existence consciousness. In that, there is no world. When I see the waking state, this waking state world is borrowing existence from that pure Brahman. So Maya Asti in Vyavaharik. Whenever we experience the five koshas, the three avasthas, the three sharirams, another word used for this is Maya. Many texts you will find they will say Maya. It also means these five koshas is Maya. Three avasthas is Maya. Why? Because everything of this content of these koshas, avasthas, shariram is Maya principle, which is otherwise called as avidya at the individual level, ignorance at the individual level. Aishwari. Aishwari means Ishvara Sambandha Asti. You see, these are all the words which are used in this particular verse, 38th verse. I'm only explaining to you the first portion. Why Maya is called as Shakti and power? Sarva Vastu Niyamakaha. It exhibits the power of control. We are going to study this in very big detail. This verse is going to continue in a few slides. So let me go through the slides. You will understand some of these things as we develop this further. So this Maya Shakti is the controller of the universe. Establishes a particular state of things for the entire world. For example, you see, you take the waking state, there is a tremendous amount of order in the world. We are going to study the order. In the next slide, we will study that. Anandamaya arabhya gudha sarveshu vastuhu. Right from Anandamaya kosha to Annamaya koshas, the panchakoshas, which are from gross to subtle, you will find there is a power which is hidden in each of these koshas. If you look at the world, you will find there is a force of gravitation. Why does the apple from a tree fall to the ground? Force of gravitation. Why do planes take off and go off from the earth into the, and they are able to go beyond gravitation? There is also that force by which we can take something outside the force of gravitation. See, these are all laws, electrical energy. These are all hidden, and that is what is called as Shakti. Force. And it is the Shakti in consciousness. Where does this force exist ultimately? It all exists in Brahman. That Brahman is what? Consciousness. Very powerful. It is the most powerful thing in the entire cosmos. What? Brahman. Pure consciousness. Each one of us can realize this power. We have the capacity. We are already experiencing it. Only thing is, I don't know how to differentiate between that power and this Vyavaharika Satya. All the three states are happening in time because of Maya Shakti. A quick revision of 38th verse before we go to the 39th verse. We have seen Brahman is not limited by time, space, objects. Time, space, objects are nothing but this Maya Shakti. It is Vyavaharikam. It is in the field of transactions. Now, this does not affect Brahman. Very important point. You see, whenever we are transacting, we should always keep in mind that there is something which is not affecting the pure state. That pure state itself is this appearing as this word. Like the waker himself is a dreamer. That is easy to understand. Now, try to imagine there is a power in this which is in the world, which is called as Brahman. That pure Brahman is itself appearing as this Vyavaharika Satya. So what is the reality? Reality is Advaitam. One state, why it is called Advaitam? Because that state, that pure state itself is appearing as this world. There are not two things. It is only one reality which is appearing as this world. Like one waker appears as the entire dream world. This reality expresses as Jiva and Ishvara, which I said in the beginning of the talk. Jiva has got kartrutvam and bhoktrutvam. That means I have sense of doership. I have a sense of enjoyership. Ishvara is the sustainer and the creator and the resolver of the entire universe. And the moment we understand the nature of Ishvara itself, we will be able to understand that pure consciousness. There is a power which is beyond. When I remove this Maya Shakti from Ishvara, it is nothing but pure Brahman. When I remove the Avidya Shakti from myself, I am also the same pure Brahman, pure consciousness. This is the way I have to understand Mahavakyam, which says that there is oneness, aikyam between Jivatma and Paramatma. This is what it is. The features of upadhi are kalpitam, projected by Maya Shakti in Brahman. That means that pure consciousness has a power which is what is projecting this entire waking state for us. And this upadhi means the whole panchakoshas, the three avasthas, or the three sharirams, or the three prapanchas. They are all not a fact, but projection. How projection? Brahman's projection, exactly like my projection of a dream. Dakshinamurti Stotram, a brilliant work. In the first verse itself, this particular point is brought about. If you study the Dakshinamurti Stotram, it is a PhD in Vedanta. All the important points are covered in that. Vishwam Darpana Drishyamana Nagari, the first one. Here it says the whole world is nothing but it's a reflection in, like a reflection in a mirror, which is what I said in the, when I said that, don't forget, this whole universe is like a reflection. Means what? It is mithya. That's all you should understand. Mithya means what? Reflection appears, I can experience it, but it is not real. That's all. That is the job of a upadhi. We have seen last verse in 37th verse, what is an upadhi? Very important portion which I covered. If you have not understood it, go back to the talk on upadhi and try to pick up and let your mind dwell on it, because see, upadhi is something which takes time to understand. Sviyan gunan anyatrada adadati. What is an upadhi? Upadhi is something which transfers its properties to the adhisthana. Like the body is born, consciousness is not born. But I say I am born. I say I am born. Actually, I am consciousness, but I am taking the property of the body into my real nature. That is what is called as adhyasa. This particular definition of upadhi will help you understand adhyasa. Upadhi of a jiva makes a reality to be a jiva. The reality is what? Consciousness. That pure consciousness, instead of saying I am pure consciousness, the jiva says I am the body. It makes a reality into a jiva. It makes a reality into an Ishvara. So upadhi of Ishvara makes that Brahman, that pure sat-chit-ananda, to be Ishvara, with this world as a upadhi. And upadhi is something which is required to prove the adhisthana. The moment you look at upadhi, immediately you should have the example in mind. Moonlight. Moonlight is an example of upadhi, which is basically trying to tell us there is a sun. Similarly, our three states are nothing but they are upadhi because they help us to recognize my real nature as pure consciousness, which is what is my real nature. A cloth or a crystal. We have seen cloth. I'm just revising some of the upadhis. Cloth is an upadhi, the color of the cloth. Similarly, crystal, the redness of a crystal which you see because of the flower. So similarly, the jiva and Ishvara and the Jagat, they are all upadhis based on the pure, they are superimposed on pure consciousness. Now, how does this happen? Because of the Shakti of Maya. It is Ishvara Shakti. Brahman by itself has no Shakti. These are all the technical points. If you understand, slowly you will understand, because they are all something which it takes time. Maya is the upadhi of Brahman. The Shakti operates in a lower plane, but the pure consciousness is always at a higher plane. The word Aishwari in this verse, 38th verse, means the Shakti of Ishwar. Like, for example, you see a policeman, because of the dress only, he has the power. The dress is what? It is an upadhi. Because of the dress, he gets a respect. Similarly, because of Maya Shakti, Ishvara gets the respect as Sarva Antaryani. So Ishwaratvam comes to Ishvara because of this Maya Shakti. And ultimately, who gives this Shakti? It is the pure reality. Consciousness with, this is another way to understand, with one small chunk of matter is called as Jiva. With a big chunk of matter, it is called as Ishvara. And both have got this Maya Shakti. Another point we discussed was Maya is not Sat, because through knowledge it ends. The reality of Maya Shakti goes away when I come to know that the reality actually is pure consciousness, pure existence. It is not somewhere lying outside us. It is there in us. I'm only trying to understand that pure consciousness and this world. That's all. Maya is not asat. It is not non-existent. Because perception is there. All of us, we perceive Maya. We perceive Maya means what? We perceive the Shakti of Maya. These are all expressions. The body, the mind, the world, they are all expressions of a Shakti which is there in the world. All I'm trying to describe in the verses from 37 to 43 is a power, is a Shakti. What is this avidya? This is another it's a technical term. Avidya means tamoguna. You see, we have studied in Bhagavad Gita chapter 14, Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Now, Tamas is the nature where you are covering something. The whole sleep state is nothing but a covering. It is tamoguna. We are not able to see the Shakti. Why? Because it is covered. Why is this called Shakti? Because it is niyamakaha. Niyamaka means what? It is a controller of the universe. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, if you want to understand this controllership, there is in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, some of you have done with me the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, you will remember there is something called as antaryani Brahmana, chapter 3 of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Very beautifully, it discusses the nature of controllership, or what. Suppose I want to know what is the power of God. Study this third chapter of section 7, third chapter of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I've just given you one example here. There are 12 verses. Very simple verses. If you understand this, the third verse, you will understand all the balance 11 verses. What does this third verse say in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad? It describes the antaryani. How does it say? One who inhabits the earth, but is not seen. It is within it. Whom the earth does not know, whose body is the earth, and who controls the earth from within, is the internal ruler, and that internal ruler is nothing but your own immortal self. This is the magic. The last part is the final magic. This is where Maya. I feel I am limited, but then what does the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad say? There is an antaryani principle which controls the earth from inside. It has got the power. How come the earth can produce vegetables and fruits and coconuts and mangoes and all that? How? What power is that? That is the inner power, the Shakti. So similarly, fire, similarly, air, similarly, all the Panchabhutas, they are all having a power inside. That power is called as the Devata. And who controls all the Devatas? Ishvara. Now is it clear? Very good. Antaryani Brahmana, I must really study 11 verses. I am sure if you have a doubt on Ishvara, study the 3rd chapter of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. I quoted the verses here. If you go to that Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, you will be able to cover it. I will be taking Brihadaranyaka Upanishad for the Saturday class sometime. I will let you know. You will know about it. So there we'll see it in detail. So this particular section deals with the Maya Shakti as the antaryani of universe. See, the one point you should remember from 38th verse is the principle of controllership of the entire universe is the self with Maya Shakti. If you are able to understand this, you have understood the 38th verse, very beautifully described by Vidyaranya. Very well. See, if you really see all the construction of all these verses and the way the presentation of Panchadasi is, you'll be amazed at the power of this teacher, to explain and to break open all the small things which are said in the Upanishads and Bhagavad Gita. He makes it so easy for us to understand. So this, what it says, this particular verse of Brihadaranyaka says, the coverings, none of the coverings know the Atma. Like my body doesn't know the Atma, the Pranamaya doesn't know the Atma, Manomaya doesn't know the Atma, Vijnanamaya doesn't know the Atma, Anandamaya doesn't know the Atma, like the earth doesn't know its own power, which is the Antaryani. Therefore, what? All these are outer dress for Atma. Antaryami is the inner controller, Shakti, Maya Shakti. Consciousness with reference to the world is called as Antaryami. See, you should not miss the point that ultimately we are talking about what? Pure consciousness. That is what Vidyaranya wants to reveal. But the problem is it is covered by Maya Shakti. He is removing that cover, slowly trying to understand. You remove this cover of Maya Shakti, you are already Brahman, finished. Antaha yami iti antaryami. Antaha means what? Inside. Yami means what? Controller. Inner controller of the universe is antaryami, which is also used in Mandukya Upanishad. Antaryami, the causal body or the causal prapancha is called as Antaryami in Mandukya. This Antaryami, Prithvi, Vayu, Agni, Akasha, Vayu, they do not know this. The common Shakti behind the entire universe from gross to the subtlest, is described as this antaryani. How do we get sleep state? How do I experience ananda in the sleep state? All of us, we enjoy our sleep. Who controls that? There is an antaryani principle. Good or bad, the Shakti is responsible. This is Brahman with the samashti upadhi called as Ishvara. Maya, prakriti, pradhanam, akasha, all these are synonymous. Even akasha is sometimes used in Vidyaranya Upanishad. Yajnavalkya tells Maitreyi, akasha is the meaning of Maya Shakti there. So the same power is called as prakriti. In Bhagavad Gita, prakritim purusham chaiva vidyanadi bhavapi vikaramsha. So we have seen all this in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So there, same Maya is called as prakriti. In Sankhya philosophy, it is called as pradhanam. How to prove Maya is sarva vastu niyamakaha? This is the verse which we are going to see in the 39th verse. See, 38 we have finished now. 38th verse. In short, if you have to understand what is 38th verse, it is antaryami. I have understood there is one inner controller principle for the entire universe. Now, in the 39th verse, he is going to say, the source of this Maya Shakti is nothing but this Brahman. I will take this verse next week. Like I said, each of these verses, I'm taking it slowly because they are very subtle in nature. You have to go travel with the description in these verses slowly, then it is easy. So 39th verse we'll do next week. And then again, there will be some revision. So all these revisions will help you to grasp clearly what these verses mean. I'll just give you the simple word meaning of this so that you can contemplate next week. What does it say? This verse says that the attributes, very beautiful verse. You see, you'll see the inner depth of this next week. Each object has an attribute. Now, who provides it? Who makes sure that the attributes are with that particular object? It is this Maya Shakti. See how beautifully Vidyaranya tries to bring Maya Shakti. He explains another verse. 7, 8 verses. Again and again, he tries to tell us, see, this is where the intellect has to get education. It is today ignorant. Our intellect is ignorant about how the world is operating. Here in this verse, Vidyaranya says, if this inner controller was not there, there will be chaos in the world. Why? Because I will not be able to distinguish the property of one object from the other. How? That we will see next week. Interesting description is going to come. And again, to help us understand Maya Shakti. Okay, so with this, I will close today's Panchadasi chapter 3. I will probably take 2 or 3 more sessions to finish this chapter. And then we will go on to chapter 4 of Panchadasi. After this, we'll take on chapter 4, which is Jiva Srishti and Ishvara Srishti. Okay? Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, there are two questions here in the chat box. As a jiva, how do we navigate Maya Shakti? Very, very good question. Very deep question. The way we should navigate Maya Shakti is very simple. Whatever experiences we are facing in life, accept it. There is a power which is giving us these experiences. This power is called as Maya Shakti. All experiences for each one of us, there is a set of experiences we all have. Your experience is not my experience. My experience is not Shama's experience or Preeti's experience. Each one. See, that is the beauty of this Maya. According to our nature, in which we have our impressions, this Maya is coming. It is acting morning to night in all the waking state, dream state, sleep state. This Maya Shakti is there. Without a fail, first of all, recognize it. It is these verses of Panchadasi which makes us understand the nature of Maya. And the beauty is, the first thing you should realize is, my mind is Maya. See, each one of us has the experience of the mind. And Maya is nothing but the mind. So how to navigate Maya Shakti? Accept the mind as it is. You've had problems. The mind gives us problems. It gives us joys. Accept it. It is a part of the world. It is a part of the order of this world. This is the step number one. Accepting Maya, accepting the mind, accepting the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. This is one aspect. The second aspect is understand that this Maya is nothing but ignorance, avidya. Pure, it is nothing but avidya. The moment the mind understands, oh, this is what is avidya, this is what I didn't know. It is avidya, it is ignorance. The nature of Maya is ignorance. The content of Maya is ignorance. Ignorance of what? Of the self. So step number two is understand Maya's content is ignorance. Maya is a projection, is a vikshepa shakti. Each one of us can feel that vikshepa shakti in us. But Maya has got another shakti which is called as veiling nature, which is covering my nature of Atma. That is step number two. How to navigate? Step number one, accept Maya. Step number two, understand Maya Shakti is my mind. And it is made up of three gunas. It will be sattvic sometime, it will be rajasic sometimes, and it will be tamasic sometimes. All of us have got these three. Invariably, we experience it. And the last point, step number three, is the most important. And that is, understand Atma Tattvam. The more I understand the Atma Tattvam, the light in which this Maya is operating, I will be able to come out of this Maya, which is what Vibhuti is also asking in the next question here. How to get over the Maya Shakti and become Gunatita. So the step number 3 is what we are all trying to do in our study on Wednesday and Saturday. Again and again, exposing our ignorant mind to something called as Sakshi, to something called as Vidya. Vidya is opposed to avidya. So the more Vidya you bring in, your intellect will interpret its experiences of the world in a different way. This is what is called as change in the direction of thoughts. This happens. This happens to all of us. The more we get this knowledge of Atma Tattvam, the more it will destroy the Maya Shakti. And you will realize this. Oh, I'm able to control my own mind. Okay, it's not getting controlled. It's not a control. It is realizing that this mind I have is wavering mind. It is changing. It is not the truth. And the intellect itself, the mind itself will say that all the experiences which I have with the mind is all negated, can be negated, but I am the consciousness which can never be negated. This is the teaching. This is what I should keep on learning. When we are Sakshi, we have transcended Maya Shakti. That is why I keep repeating in the meditation, I am the Sakshi, I am the Sakshi. This is the best way to say I am not the mind. Replace Maya or Manaha with Sakshi. Again and again, let the mind reflect on it. Let the mind, just to spend 5-10 minutes every day, tell your own mind, I am the Sakshi. Let the mind get converted. As being a mind, it can get converted to become a Sakshi, because in the mind, there are 2 parts. One is the reflection of consciousness, and the second is the thoughts. The thoughts have no existence without the light of consciousness. These are all technical points. If you remember and you're able to apply it, these are all meant for application. See, these are all meant to apply in our seat of meditation. Let these thoughts come, and then you realize this Maya Shakti it's there. It is there. It is very powerful. It controls my whole life, right from morning to evening. Like I said, what is Ishvara Shakti? Ishvara Shakti is a general law which governs the 3 states. We are going to study in that 4th chapter, So Ishvara is giving us a general overall, like how the government will give you the overall blueprint in which you can operate. Each individual has to operate within his own laws, which is what is the mind. Overall picture is governed by Ishvara. Ishvara gives us the entire world to come, stay in this world, come with our mind, individual minds, experience the sukham and dukkham. At the same time, there is an opportunity given to us to come out of this mind, come out of this Maya Shakti. Very beautiful questions all of you have asked. You will enjoy the balance verses of this chapter 3. The more you understand Maya, the more you will get the freedom from Maya. See, a lot of things we don't understand. For example, I keep telling, the entire sleep state is tamoguna. That's all. Ignorance. Causal body. What is causal body? Many of us don't know. They can understand subtle body and gross body, but causal body is very difficult because it is very subtle. Ignorance, total ignorance of myself and the world is causal body, the sleep state. But in that sleep state, there is a light of consciousness, because of which only I can say, yes, that I know that there is no world in that sleep state. So I shift my attention from the waking state in which I see the light of objects in the world. I shift it to the attention of the light. See, these are all very subtle transformations of the human mind. All of us can do it. The moment you learn how to do it, step 1, 2, and 3, accept Maya. Second, understand mind is Maya. And third, understand the light behind the Maya is Atma. I hope I'm clear. Okay. Next, what is if you have any other questions, you can ask. Shanmugam is unmuted. You can just unmute and ask. Yeah, Shama, go ahead. Can you unmute yourself? Yeah.
Hari Om. Thank you once again. Wonderful, wonderful session. I like the way that you can go, deeper and deeper. You can be diving more into this ocean of Brahman. I just love it. I really, really love it. But yeah.
This is done by Vidyaranya. I'm only explaining what he has said in the verses.
And I just wanted to say, just from the complete, the Purnamada Purnamidam, that verse in itself. So what is fascinating is that, from that, that's right at the end of the meditation, suddenly it clicked, the meaning of the verse, where, so the limited that we see in this manifest world, which I, me, and so many of us and so many sages and rishis have seen all throughout the ages, it's still such a limited aspect of the whole of the Brahman, what we can know, what we can see. And so the best part is, even if you have taken away the limited, it still remains infinite. And that limited which you saw was also, say, even a drop of ocean is therefore nothing but actually the ocean, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. So in that, therefore, although in that limitedness, so even in our jiva state, although we are limited, we actually are no different than the same Brahman.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
In our antaryani, in our purified state, where the mind is completely gone,
yes,
which is where the limitation is,
right,
there is no problem, isn't it?
Yes. And these verses of meditation helps you to reach that limitlessness state.
Yeah. And I have actually sort of also wanted to say that it is something to just believe that, it's not Shravanam and Mananam alone that is the secret, but the Nididhyasana, there is no way. I don't know how the wiring of the mind changes. To me, it looks like quite automatically unknown. There is something that is changing.
Yes.
I have begun to believe that there is something which changes, and you think, oh, how did I know that? How did I understand that? But yes, there is a process by which, through the Nididhyasana. So that's just on the meditation. I did have a question while we were doing it. And this was, the first one was about, so the Maya Shakti, which we've been talking about, it is actually a temporal and a spatial relationship. It is a limited aspect that we are seeing, isn't it, in this Maya Shakti?
Yes, yes.
Which is time and space limitation.
Correct, that's right.
While Brahman is certainly beyond it.
Yes, there is no time, there is no space in Brahman.
Okay, then the question is, however, am I right in understanding that the Maya Shakti is nothing outside Brahman. It is within Brahman itself, isn't it?
Yes. It is within Brahman, correct.
Yeah. So like Ishvara is no different from Brahman. It's just is that it is a manifest form.
Yes.
While Brahman is beyond manifestation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is one question which I wanted a clarification was. And the second question, second one was on the antaryani principle, which is this still within the Maya or?
Yeah, it is within Maya. Maya is nothing but antaryani.
Okay, so
How to see the effect of Maya in the world is explained by antaryani.
Okay, so and also very clearly you said Maya is nothing but the mind, and mind is nothing but the limitation.
Yeah.
And the mind is there only because it is also a vastuni. It is an anatma, isn't it?
Yes, it is anatma, but it depends on atma's. Unless atma is there, then only this mind can be seen or experienced.
Yeah. So, but in other words, it is the reason why we cannot straight away see it is because the mind is limited. Because it still is within the Atma. It's like almost, can the Jada understand itself? No, it cannot, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
The Jada must have the consciousness to illumine, yeah?
Yes.
So, and with this, what I just wanted to ask, there is Ramakrishna Paramhansa, he very nicely sort of puts two aspects to Maya. He says, one is avidya Maya, which to me looks like it is a total tamas state, you know, where...
That's correct. That is what is called as avidya Maya.
Avidya Maya. And the other one is a Vidya Maya, which is what we are trying to approach and trying to understand through all this Vedanta Shastra and all the Jnanam, which is a better form of the mind, isn't it? Where it is, we have to just believe that constantly, if we are continuing to do Ashravnam Mananam, our Vidya Maya is getting more and more refined.
Yeah, more stronger. The Vidya Maya will become stronger. It will be giving an equal fight to Avidya Maya.
Yeah. So,
and the Vidya Maya can give us ultimately moksha.
Correct, correct. Now, so the inner controller which you're referring to is the Maya, is the mind or the Maya itself.
Yes.
Which is controlling ourselves.
Yes.
However, is there further, and this is my really very important question, however, is this inner controller further and further being actually governed by my own vasana? So depending on my prarabdha, punya, papa, karma, punyam to me, it looks like I'm in a punya state if I'm towards the light. I'm in a papa state if I'm away from the light.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is really the final essence of punya and papa.
Yes.
Which, is
your own impressions, your own vasanas are the ultimate controller of all your experiences.
Yeah, this is what. So that my own vasanas or papa punya karmas are actually controlling this inner controller.
Yes.
Yeah. See, there is no other way. I mean, there is just something that as long as we are persistently, constantly devoting our mental consciousness towards this practice of Shravanam Manam, this thing, we have to just believe that the vasana will have less and less.
That's correct. It happens. You see, ultimately it is the Shastra, it is the scriptures only, they tell us how to get out of this Maya.
Yeah.
They are teaching us, you see, they are telling us this is the way to learn. You want to get rid of Maya, get rid of your impressions, this is the only way.
So it is that bigger light of the Vedanta Shastras.
That's correct.
Then we have the smaller light, for example, which has gone into you. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, and with that light, then we are benefiting. Our own minds are getting illumined.
Yeah, whenever you're experiencing your own mind, immediately bring to the point there is an illuminator. Immediately you'll be able to come out of your Maya.
Yeah.
Keep practicing it. You see, this is something which a jiva can practice.
Yeah.
Again and again, whenever you get caught up in the delusionary world, remember, oh, last 2 hours I was caught in this in this delusion of something about the world. Okay, it can be about any topic in the world, whether it is family, whether it is the government, whether it is external circumstances around you. Immediately come back, become conscious. You say, hey, I just got caught up. Let me just come back to my fulcrum. Let me come back to my equilibrium.
So you do have that little small bit of control, isn't it?
Yes.
Where you can constantly bring it back.
That's correct. Yes.
You know? So that's wonderful. And of course, like you described the state, the difference between the jnani and the gnani. The gnani, the joy of, I mean, I just can't imagine how wonderful it is, you know, continuous inner mind is in tune with the higher reality, you know.
Yeah,
so come whatever, you know.
You see, Nirvana Shatkam tells us that this is possible. You see, from Ajnani state, we can become a jnani, and this is the measure. This is what we have to go towards. It tells me where I have to focus, where I have to grow.
Yeah.
And this answers the question of Akshay. I'm just interrupting you. It says, how to identify clearly we know the Brahma Tattva. We can identify that we are going towards the Brahma Tattva only when my agitations in the mind are coming down. When my mind is able to tune to the higher reality.
Yeah.
The Nirvana Shatkam is a beautiful exercise. Again and again, tell yourself, I am the sat-chit-ananda Sarupa. If your mind is able to do it, you are clearly identifying with the Brahma Tattva.
Yeah.
Suppose your agitations in the mind, suppose, in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, your mind is immediately pulling you back. Oh, this is not good in the world. That's not good in the world. Immediately, you're coming back to the Jiva Tattva.
Yeah.
So,
and I love the explanation that you've given earlier, you know, about how do you deal with it, you know, in the answer to how do you deal with this problem of this thing, you know, by accepting it, you know.
Yeah, and this was just a spontaneous step 1, 2, 3. It just came out.
Very nice. I like the steps. I've actually written it down.
Okay, thank you, Shama. I have 2 other people here. Vibhuti, I will come back to you, Saru, just immediately after Vibhuti. Yeah, tell me, Vibhuti, because you had raised that question. Tell me.
Sir, as you have rightly told, all of us are having the 3 gunas, sattva, guna, and rajam, and tama. Of course, in various proportions.
Yes.
So our effort should be to reduce, eliminate, if possible, eliminate or at least reduce tamo and rajaguna and enhance our sattvika guna. Is it correct?
That's correct. You're right. You know, that is what Bhagavad Gita says in the chapter 14. Reduce your tamoguna, reduce your rajoguna, try to become more sattvic. And what are the sattvic qualities? It has given beautifully. Yes. The more you are at peace with yourself, the more your agitations are coming down. That is the path in which you can make an effort. And specific methods, specific steps which are given in the Bhagavad Gita itself.
And in the chapter 17 also, sir,
yes,
a vivid description has been given what type of food we should take in order to increase our sattvic.
You are right. Yeah, correct.
And what austerity we should follow.
Yeah, the sattvic aspect of all whatever the Bhagavad Gita says, you should keep it in your own, in a small private notebook, you should keep it and say, this is what I should attack. And you see, the mind, needs constant reminders about how I should progress, how I should progress. Even if you make that make an effort in that direction, that itself is very good, because that shows that you are able to control your mind.
Sir, actually, for the last 2 months, I have been consciously practicing all these aspects, and I am very happy to, sir, submit before you that actually it is giving very good result. For 3 to 4 hours every day, I am engaged in recitation or study of this Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu Sahasranama, or Vedanta, whatever you are teaching.
Very good.
And
I'm very happy to hear that. Excellent.
And sir, I am trying to reduce my port as you had advised. That
Yes.
port portion I am gradually trying to reduce. It is really giving very good results, sir. Thank you very much.
This is the benefit of the study, the spiritual study. You know,
thank you very much, sir. Actually,
like you, there are so many people who write to me and say, I have got this benefit, I've got this benefit. I find myself a little bit more in control of my life. I don't know why it has happened, but it is happening. You see, so what you are expressing is the joy of this study. That's all. It's giving you the benefits. It's giving you the feeling that you are more happy.
I'm grateful to you, sir.
No, don't worry. This is the job of the teaching, Bhagavad Gita, Panchadasi, Upanishads. This is what they are trying to, and this is the way to purify our mind. There is no other way. See, when we study, what happens is the mind for 1.5 hours, 2 hours is focused on something which it has never thought about. Whereas in the 22 hours of our life, our mind is always in the world. It is always going after this, after this, after that. Okay, thank you. Saru, yeah, what do you have?
Yeah, Hari Om.
Yeah,
I have questions, confirmations, clarifications. The first is when we say about the Sakshi position, that is actually, am I allowing, is it a through position for all the emotions and experiences? Everything goes through me and not in me.
Yes,
yeah,
that's correct.
Through. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, because the feelings will be there, so they will just go through.
Feelings will still continue.
Yeah.
The only thing you have to say is these emotions are known by what in this body? Does the matter principle in the body, does it know the emotions? It cannot know.
It cannot know.
It cannot know. See what? See, in Brahma Sutra, there is this topic is analyzed. Does the mind know by itself, or is there an external light? And it's very clearly said that mind is matter. Mind is made up of 5 elements. The emotions are nothing but thoughts, subtle thoughts. And the only way you can understand that self, the light of the self, is understanding that these emotions are an upadhi.
They're an upadhi, right? They're reflecting.
Upadhi. You see, this is how you should remember. See, the concept of upadhi is very, very powerful in the world. And in chapter 6 of Panchadasi, this upadhi is taken to such an extent, especially when you try to understand the aspect. I'm digressing a little bit from your question. Okay, let me finish your question first. You have another question?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, tell me.
The second question is on reflection. Okay, so Maya is reflection.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, there are three points out here. One is the quality of the reflection also depends on the medium.
Which is the mind.
Which is the mind.
The mind is the medium.
Okay. Right. Okay. Mind is the medium. Okay. So my quality of perception is determined by the quality of the mind that I have.
That's correct. Suppose it's a Rajasic mind.
Yes.
then the reflection will be very dim. Suppose it is a tamasic mind, you'll be sleeping. That means there is no reflection at all of pure consciousness on the tamasic mind. And suppose it is you're dreaming, in that the light will be dimmer.
So when
when you connect it to Shama's question of how the mind, the vasanas, how the vasanas, they are able to determine our to experience our nature as the self, is suppose your vasanas are very, very strong. They will express as thoughts. Vasanas will express as thoughts. So whenever these thoughts are disturbing you, you should always remember, my light of consciousness is not being, I'm not able to experience myself.
right.
I'm getting caught up in these thoughts. So the mind is a mirror. The what causes disturbance in the mind mirror is the vasanas.
Okay. So for example, when I look, so the experience, one is my experience of the world and a reflection of that. The other is, if I look at the macro world, let's say, for example, the wars that are happening and all, that how do I say that is a reflection of the consciousness? That is not, no, that is transactional world.
Yeah, you see, it's like this. What you should understand is, I have a set of jnana indriyas. Jnana indriyas, eyes, ears, tongue, skin, all that, they are interacting with the world, and they are giving some perceptions.
Yes.
These perceptions are coming to the mind.
Yes.
The mind has got two choices. The choice number one is it interprets them correctly. Oh, these are all things happening in the world. This is what will happen. I have no control over those things. This is the right interpretation. Sense organs, sense objects, these are not under my control. This is Ishvara Srishti. A Lord wants to have a war in the world. He wants to have virus in the world. He has got COVID in the world. Now, what can I do about it? So the right interpretation is, I have no control. It is the intellect which has to interpret correctly the pramata.
Right.
Pramata is the knower. It is only knowing what is happening in the world. But antakaranam makes the difference. For example, Deepak, when he hears about the war, it will not make any difference to him. He'll say, okay, chalta hai, all this is going on. So his mind is able to accept it and just move on. Whereas you are caught up in the world and say, oh, this should not happen, that should not happen. So what is the difference between Deepak and you is the Jiva Srishti. The mind's interpretation of the same world is the Jiva Srishti. The Jiva Srishti depends on your vasanas.
And the vasanas are dependent on?
On your old impressions.
On my prarabdha.
On your prarabdha. And what is the ultimate teaching? I am not those vasanas. I am not the mind. I am the pure light in which all this is happening.
Right.
This is the way to come out of Maya.
Right. Thank you. And one last question. The last question is, the whole process is of disidentification with the body and the mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is what is called as Deha Atma Abhimana.
Deha Atma Abhimana.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in this process, the way I'm experiencing it is, it becomes a very, what shall I say, stern process many a time. So I'm wondering, how is love co-held in the process? Because the body is also a divine vessel, which is carrying all these Shaktis within itself.
Yes, love is a very powerful emotion which can happen only when you are in tune with your Atma. The quality of love, compassion are all qualities coming from Atma. They are all reflected in the mind. They are all sattvic gunas. So the more you are in tune with yourself, you will be able to express the love. It will come automatically.
Even the disidentification will happen with love.
Yes,
even the
it will
disidentification.
happen. Yes.
Because right now it's quite stern, like, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this.
No. That is the neti methodology.
Yeah, the neti one. Which
Okay,
I'm doing,
the
yes.
positive side is I am full of love. I am all compassion is only quality of Atma. If I have the urge to serve in the world, it is a quality of Atma.
Yeah, and it is love, right? Because love is a very
love.
integral part.
Yes,
That's what. Yes,
that's correct. So the more you are able to flow with love and compassion, and suddenly you burst with so much of joy in the world. You want to help people. You want to, somewhere, during the COVID time, Shama had suddenly said, I want to go and help the people. There are patients who are suffering. I have to go and help them. That is because of the quality of the sattvic quality of seva. See, this comes out of the inner happiness.
How is this cultivated? How do I cultivate more of that?
This is the same as cultivating sattvic guna from the Bhagavad Gita. Go through the steps of chapter 14, where it says, and chapter 16, 17 of the Bhagavad Gita. In simple terms, the way to cultivate a sattvic lifestyle is to lead a very simple lifestyle. Just live as if you are just going through the motion of life. Let the life, the moment you take any particular aspect of life very seriously, you're losing your inner balance. Any aspect of your life. So the best way to remain sattvic on a day-to-day basis is, I accept whatever life is bringing for me tomorrow. I accept, I do my best, I lead a simple lifestyle. I accept there is a force in this universe. I accept the law of prarabdha.
Right.
Because the moment I don't forget this law, I have a problem.
Yes.
I resist. And that causes a lot of agitations in the mind. Why this? Why not? Why this? Why that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other
Thank
questions?
you.
Thank
you.
Mr. Shekhar.
Yes, Jacqueline, tell me.
Oh, I just want to share something. I should say the flow or the divine flow, okay? Just happened today. What happened was I went to my opposite place where they have doing planting and gardening and woodworking. I just dropped by because of some other thing. And when I sit there, I saw my old two friends. I said, because they are volunteer to do planting for people, then, so I said, okay, I have 1 hour. I sit down, I do planting. I do, some planting for you because they say they have 100 over things that they want to plant. It's a money plant, okay? So the story it's amazing that I'm sharing because it just happened. So what happened was, so I said, okay. She said, oh, they are going to buy more. I said, I have some because I hesitate to throw away plant. So I said, I go across and I bring some back. So when I bring some back, I know that at my area, there are people that are planting that kind of plant also. So I went down, before I handle my planting, the money plant that I cut from my home, I want to bring over and I say, I will collect more. So when I say I collect more, so I go around and check for the gardener to collect. I asked him to help me. He said, you can do it yourself. I said, if I do it, then people will grumble. He said, no. So I said, forget about it. So I turned around another corner, and that corner is on the land level. Because if I come out, I have to walk about a few minutes to come out to my place and cut. I said, forget about it. So I want to just go I said, knock, knock, anybody home? I want to cut. Can you give me some money plant because I want to do charity over across the street, you know? So nobody come. And so I said, okay, forget about it. And then when I turned at the corner, there's one big bag of the money plant and they want to throw away, you know? So to me, I said, oh, this is amazing. So I go and knock at the same door. The same door, the helper come up. I said, are you going to throw this away? They say, yeah. So I bring the whole thing back, you know. I mean, to me, it's amazing. The timing itself is a flow. I attribute it as a flow. So when I bring back, I told the lady, I said, these small little things that I brought, it gives me another big bag that I give it to you, and then you can do charity on whatever that you need to do, you know. So so I come back, and then in fact, I asked the helper, I said, are you going to cut again? He said, no. I come back and then another big bag. Fine, I bring another big bag. So I come back and then I saw she throw away again. I said, hey, hello, please, I want this. You go and cut whatever, I do whatever things that I have done. I come and collect this, another big bag. This is the amazing part. It's quite heavy, you know. I bring over. When I bring over, there is this guy that I never know, okay? At the entrance of the house, I think if I walk and I carry that big bag, it will take me about quite heavy and another 10 or 15 minutes. So incidentally, that was a bicycle, a young man whom I know at that area also. I say, hello, can you carry what I'm saying that is so amazing. At that instant, there is a bicycle waiting for me. I mean, I didn't know, okay, waiting for me and not waiting now. The coincidentally is there. I say, hello, can you bring this for me? Inside, we go together. They said, okay, fine. Do you want to sit on my bicycle? And we go.
See, these are all, Jacqueline, these are all incidences which happen in our life. And the more we contemplate on why this happens, how it happens, how suddenly situations change in life, these are the things which help us to understand the spiritual essence in the world.
Yeah, so to me, I'm so excited, amazed, you know, this is the flow, a divine flow. In fact, we, you know, I mean, I'm talking here not because of ego, I'm just like amazed, just like sleeping, and I just pick up myself, nobody wake me up, you know, so that is supposed to, but because of human being, we are not trusting it. We say, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, you know, that is what it is supposed. I mean, if I follow the flow, it happened, you know, just incidentally, each and every one. It's just like asking me, hey, somebody need this plant, you go. And then the bicycle is waiting for me and then they carry me there.
Yeah. See, like I said, that you have experiences, many people have different types of experiences, but we accept all these experiences there is some law behind this.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
Shekharji,
yeah.
Deepak Chopra talks about, he said there are no coincidences and he calls it synchronicity.
Yes,
you know?
Yes. That's,
you know, when there is, and this, what it means is that it takes you to realize that there is an all-pervasive power.
Yes.
That is unfolding itself in so many ways. And the more you get connected to it, the more you get the synchronicity. And you just have to abide in it. There's nothing you should do. You just abide in it.
Yes.
These are the small miracles that happen in life, which we now call as miracles. But sometimes people just accept it as, you know, it's happening. But now we should know these are the small miracles that happen in our life.
Yeah, to me it's amazing. The bicycle is waiting for me there, which I say, oops, you are.
I have just one question.
Go ahead.
If anybody else has, then they can go ahead.
No, go ahead. I think
okay.
Jacqueline,
No, I have been sort of contemplating on the Sakshi, and I have the more I contemplate, it seems that Sakshi is also a person with eyes, you know, who's witnessing Deepak. But the more I delve deeper into the philosophy, and I just want to correct my understanding, because again, you know, if you don't correct your understanding, you go in circles. that you realize that both the avarna and the vikshepa shakti, and the moment you remove the veil, the projection goes away, which means that the moment you realize that that is an illusion, the snake goes away. Snake was never there. So all these things, the avarna, the vikshepa, and the pratibhashika, they all happen simultaneously.
Yes.
And then what is left is just that you abide in your consciousness.
That's correct.
So actually, at a higher level of understanding, even that witness is not there. Because witness means also there's somebody seeing. There's nobody seeing. You're just abiding in that space.
Yeah, you see, you are right, because this is what is said in Mandukya Upanishad, that the ultimate reality is not the witness of the sleep state, but it is beyond that. Turiyam is beyond witnessing the ignorance and beyond witnessing the knowledge state in the waking and dream. Turiyam is beyond. Beyond means there is nothing in that pure consciousness. In pure consciousness, it is a shariram. It doesn't have any eyes, it doesn't have any body, it doesn't have a mind. Consciousness is just a pure light. So your understanding is correct that when I am aware of myself, suddenly I find that mind's projections are dropped. The moment I become aware that I am consciousness, I am the sakshi, what happens is you immediately, see, this is very easily felt in the seat of meditation.
So therefore, samadhi and beyond, the moment you get into that realization, you cannot be living in this conscious state. I mean, you can, like Ramakrishna Paramahans, every time he went, he saw a spiritual play, he went into this rapturous joy of samadhi. And for hours, he used to be in that state. Then he came down.
Yeah. See, but
from that state, when he came down from the state, how did he?
Yeah, but Deepak, you can listen to it, you can read it, you can experience, but don't say that the same experience I should get.
Yeah.
Don't get carried away with it, because his mind, his purity of the mind is totally different than my mind and my purity of mind.
Yeah,
okay.
But I just wanted to catch up on that Ramakrishna Paramahansa's that samadhi state.
Yeah.
Even when he came out of it, he practically, what we call, we keep saying about self-abidance. He was abiding in himself all the while. And hence it is that he could not see any difference at all in terms of the Atman, which was there in a very ordinary, like his disciples, when you look at his 16 disciples, I feel shocked, from a completely illiterate disciple to a disciple like Swami Vivekananda to somebody completely ordinary and his household, a whole spectrum of it. If it wasn't for that purified, this living in that Atman self,
yeah,
it was not possible that he could have at all attained it. So that's again very inspiring that, at that state,
correct.
Even for transactional vyavaharika purposes, the life that such a saint person will be living is that incredible. And I'm very sure that even for us ordinary people, I think it is perfectly possible if we track our own spiritual journey as to what was very annoying, very irritating some time ago, it almost isn't, at all. Yeah. So I definitely feel that, it's not for a samadhi state, but there's definitely a transformation which happens in our everyday. What Jacqueline was referring to, the divine flow, or Deepak Chopra refers to synchronicity, it is almost as if your own being has actually extended outside your own jiva state, and hence you're able to relate to other people with whom you're connecting. you know, who may be completely unknown people. And that's
Correct.
quite incredible. I find it perfectly understandable that it is a very, very, you know, real thing. I have no doubts at all. So I'm just
Deepak, you
thinking.
had anything more in your
No,
questioning?
no, that I think all of this leads to this point that eventually we have to go. The witness is, we should not confuse witness as another person, but you have to
Yes, correct. You see, don't think. You see, this is it is very natural in our spiritual study and spiritual growth. Initially, we think witness is also another person, another reality in front
some
of
person,
me. Yeah,
some reality of me,
yeah,
which isn't so.
Which is not right. But it is a natural process of learning.
Yes, it's a good way to reach that space.
Yes,
till
you see,
it happens.
that is why initially we say it is paroksha jnanam. There is a witness. That witness is watching my mind. So initially, that is what is called as paroksha jnanam. Paroksha means it is different than me. I am something, and the witness is something else. Witness is watching the mind. This is the first step. This is how we all learn. Later on, you should say that witness is not something outside me, it is me. I am that witness, but this comes gradually. See, mind does not accept this immediately. The intellect will protest. Because for ages, my intellect has said, I am the ego in this body, I am the boss of this body, I am the leader of this body, there is nothing beyond me. Suddenly you're telling the intellect there is something called a sakshi. It will protest initially, but slowly you have to say, I am the witness, and I am the witness to this mind. Mind becomes an object of experience. I become the subject. This is called as transformation. Ajnani and jnani, the only difference is Ajnani takes the mind as the self. He puts the self, the witness and the mind together and blends them together and makes the mind as the self. This is what is called as the adhyasa. Complete adhyasa. Total superimposition. That snake is real. Rope doesn't exist. And what does the jnani say? Rope is the truth, snake is false. Snake is just a projection in the mind. Reality is always there, nityam. Consciousness is always nirvikara, no modifications in the consciousness. It is always eternal. Eternally it is there, changeless. I bring all these lessons of Vedanta and try to differentiate that sakshi, which is paroksham, I make it aparoksham. Aparoksham means again and again claim, but this is the second step. It comes gradually. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very happy, Deepak. You are really enjoying the spiritual study. I can see that because I can see the growth, tremendous growth in your understanding of all these aspects. Okay, it's 8:47 in Singapore. We have had 1 hour of Q&A. I think it can continue for another 4 hours if it goes well. Thank you very much.
May I have the last word?
Yeah, tell me.
I just wanted to also say that very fast, you know, I'm learning to be more forgiving of my own self because I was my worst critic. And I'm finding that finally I am just, you know, I feel, you know, only through the nididhyasana that I'm getting more forgiving, you know, so I'm no longer sitting and measuring myself with that moral compass, you know,
This is
you
a
didn't do this, you
tremendous
did that.
change.
So I am feeling so grateful, very grateful.
This is a tremendous change, Shama. Really, it's a tremendous change in the mindset. Forgiving oneself is a very difficult thing to do.
Very difficult. Yeah.
But it's only because I know that my thoughts and emotions, which are agitation or whatever they are, that is not me.
Yes. See,
instantly that answer comes, that is not me, just
yes.
Forget it, the only point to be taken is if there is something significant which needs to be changed, you learn that and you change it, but don't hammer yourself.
Don't criticize yourself. It's self-hurt is the worst possible hurt,
Very, very bad, very bad. And I've recently been through an immense agony over this because it just was unbearable. But I'm very pleased that now I am out of it. So
good. I'm very happy. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add to this actually. See, I could just see up to 39 verses, 37 verses. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam and all, it looks very quiet and very beautiful understanding. The 38th verse when it has come about Maya, it's so complex actually.
Yes,
because
yes.
Finitude is always more difficult because of the so many attributions involved in that actually.
Yeah.
So infinite is very easy to understand, but maintaining and getting to that is difficult actually. But just to, I want to add one particular thing, what is said by one enlightened person. All that is precious in life is a secret. Love is a secret, life is a secret, the world is a secret, your feelings, emotions are a secret. You are the biggest secret. And the purpose of this whole life is not to find out what is this secret. There is no need to dwell upon all that what is happening in their life and all that. The Nirvana Sadhakam and Dakshinamurti Stotram, if we just see, everything has been put as these are all illusions. But we cannot discard just like that. Only with the knowledge only we could able to discriminate this understanding.
Yes.
So what has been told is the simple keeping a single thought about that infinite, that can make a big difference actually, by reducing the number of thoughts to the bare minimum. So in every act of ours, if we can consider Isvara Arpanam, and whether it's good or bad or whatever things is like, go with that concept. And if we keep our intentions and attitudes towards that infinite, so that can make a big way to move further in the life actually. Because it's a secret.
That's you have put it extremely well, Venkatesh. Very well put. It's a secret. Ultimately, this consciousness is a secret. Nobody knows it, but through study only we can realize this secret.
Only with the knowledge only we could able to understand that.
Correct.
And the knowledge is everything. I mean, I could just see like the 38th verse, what you said is fine, but 39th verse I could see it can create a chaos if we do not, if the God does not maintain attributes,
Yes.
The attributes, suppose the plants start walking,
yes,
and animals start flying and all that. So the whole thing, because the consistency is there in the attributes, what is given by the God. But I mean, I'm really surprised Vidyaranya.
This is
those days. And currently, if we just see all this war and all these things are happening because we are not abiding with the nature.
That's right.
Conflict is coming because this is going against the principles of the nature.
Yeah.
And whatever said understanding, suppose in a World Health Organization or the UNO and all, we all agree, but we do not follow, we do not stick to that. So that is where the conflicts are coming, because we are not abiding by our own attributes set in a group. Whereas a God also, if he does the same thing with the attributes which he has given to an individuals, plants, animals and all. So if animals start behaving like a plant and plant behaving like an animal, I mean, it's going to be the biggest chaos in the world actually. I mean, It's
Anyway,
really
you have
something.
yet to come to the 39th verse. Let's discuss that after we have learned the 39th verse.
It's very, very interesting. I find this particular chapter
Yeah.
is really so lovely and so interesting.
No, the Vidyaranya is a brilliant teacher. You see,
Very, very brilliant. Yeah, extraordinary.
yeah. Thank you. Good night.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Good night. Yeah.
Good night.